Today is the beginning of an adventure, an exploration beginning in Cumbria and extending into Northumberland. Kit and I are walking the Hadrian's Wall trail from east to west. We stayed in Carlisle last night, having travelled up from the south of England yesterday by train. Our B&B rooms and breakfast were very good, and the weather forecast for today ahead is fine. And we're off, with loaded bags on our backs and sturdy boots on our feet. Kit and I set off to pick up the Hadrian's Wall trail. This first leg of the route will take us to Walton, just north of Brampton. Leaving Carlisle behind, we're following the recognised Hadrian's Wall long distance path. Kit has a copy of the Cicerone guide, which has useful maps, directions and notes to use along the way, whilst I have an OS map to refer to. Walking along the bank of the River Eden, first on the south side, we used the 1922 Millennium Bridge to cross over to then walk along the northern bank. Rickaby Path is just a large open space and popular in the summer months for shows and events in the area.
Once over the River Eden, follow the tarmac path traversing the open Rickaby Park, walked by the Citizens League in 1920, now popular riverside open space for exercising limbs young and old, to meet the open road near the exit from the park.
The M6 brutally slices through the countryside here, partly in a cutting and otherwise on an embankment. Looking south, the next junction links with the A69, which is the main route between Newcastle and Carlisle. Linstock is quite small. The trail follows along some of the roads here to link up with the bank of the River Eden again as it meanders through the valley. Crosby-on-Eden's Stag Inn is sadly closed at the moment and up for sale. Kit and I would have been very tempted by the idea of a quick pint and a chance to lay the map out for an hour or so, but unfortunately no opportunity or spare time really today. St John the Baptist Church, with its smooth reddish sandstone, is partly masked from the road and stands amongst the trees. The self-service snack shack is just off the trail here. We were curious enough to stop, and Kit even made himself a cup of tea.
Carlisle International Airport. Of more immediate, refreshing interest to walkers, seek out the Cafe Stobart, situated at the base of the control tower.
Quite a lot of this first leg of the trail is along grassy paths, and this stretch is one of those. The soft ground underfoot is a welcome change. Next is a length of Roman military way, a dead straight section here running parallel to the ditch and bank which forms the main defence line along this part of the wall. Kit and I didn't include the furthest western section of the official trail west of Carlisle, as there's very little to see of the Roman defence line along that section. Today, walking east of Carlisle, the route includes the first real traces of the fortified line, but even here the most we'll see is the vallum, a combination of deep ditch and a broad embankment. On our right is Carlisle Airport, which has some light planes landing and taking off. We've just seen one take off in the distance. This section of the wall is not of stone. Hadrian soldiers cleverly used turf lumps layered and stacked to form a tall structure. The Romans didn't want to use the soft sandstone, and their quarries in the east near Newcastle were too far away to use. The fortification was mostly constructed with a combination of a tall embankment and ditches known as the vallum. Sometime after the whole wall was built, a later Roman leader called Severus arranged for this section of the wall to be strengthened with stone. Much of the turf wall was then faced with stone. Over the subsequent 2,000 years, the stone has been removed for use in local building, and the height of the bank has naturally reduced. Still, where we've sat at the top of the bank here for a quick snack and drink, the difference in height between the top of the bank and the trench in the field below is many metres. This section is probably the most impressive section of the turf wall and earthworks. These kissing gates were a bit of a pain, especially when they didn't cater for walkers with larger rucksacks.
And some Roman tyres.
This lovely old cottage, called Old Wall Cottage, is reputed to have been built using reclaimed Roman stone and built around the 1600s. Once again, our trail follows the top ridge of the earthen bank, with deep ditches beside. There is the assumption that this earth bank would have been even taller, but 2,000 years later, it's still very impressive. Back following the road for a while, we approached the town of Newton. We crossed the A6071 out of Brampton, spotting the white acorn waymarker on the post opposite. So far, most of the route has been along flat paths, but the section ahead changes this as we need to negotiate some dropping down into a little valley and then back up the other side. Part of this is through woodland, making a change from the broad views which we've been looking at so far.
Yeah.
As we approach Walton, we look out for the signs of our evening resting place, Flora's bunkhouse. Our room isn't lavish, but it's all we need, and we have the room to ourselves tonight. The idea of a bunkhouse sounds cheap and minimal, but whilst it was quite cheap compared to some of the B&Bs we've booked, there's nothing minimal about Flora's. Kit and I highly recommend a stop here. We were warmly welcomed at check-in and have been well cared for during our brief stay. A beer to toast our successful first day, and a few minutes looking over the route on a map was called for next. The main room, with the reception desk on one side and the seating area in the main part, is tastefully furnished with style. The location is not fully booked, not due to lack of interest, but due to the ongoing safety measures with COVID, so there was relatively few people staying this evening. Keen to explore the local bar, we ventured out for a couple of hours before the scheduled evening mealtime. The Old Vicarage Bar is a combo of a microbrewery and a local pub. The bar area is small but clean and tidy, and the owner was most welcoming. The pint of black sail went down a treat, but it was a shame that the beer brewed on site was not available this evening, otherwise we'd have tried a pint of that. The owner gave us a quick guided tour of the brewing system. Pipes, vats, pumps, hoses, heating, cooling, adding this, mixing that. All very complicated but fascinating. Before heading back, we finished our pint and praised ourselves on concluding our first leg of the trail. Back at Flora's, we had a lovely meal and let the evening drift on whilst chatting with the others and checking out the route for tomorrow. A video about day 2 will follow soon. Thanks for watching, and from Kit and I, bye for now.